Okay, I am going to start working on section 5. So let's open this up. This is step 5, just to show you where we're at here. So number 10, step 5, apply MVC. So again, what we need to do is break this problem down into what it is she's asking us. So I want you to mentally imagine that the code, what the code would look like if we continued building out our story in this fashion. There'd be lots of if statements and the code would get more and more confusing, at which point we might just give up. Let's see how MVC can come to the rescue to improve the scalability of our app. So she has these instructions: create a structure in the story brain, move the story number and stories array into the story brain, create a method in story brain that's called next story, move the story progression that currently lives in choice made into the next story method. And then she starts talking about the view controller. So I'm going to just take these 4 things because I know that those are going to happen in that story brain. And I'm going to go over and open the story brain, and I'm going to put my this in as a comment. And I found out that in Swift, if you just do a / asterisk and then do a return, it surrounds whatever you're going to type in there with comment. So I've got that now, and then let's go back to the instructions, and it says create a new instance of StoryBrain in the viewController.swift to be able to tap into the newfound capabilities of the StoryBrain. Call it StoryBrain with lowercase s. So now I'm going to copy that over in the view controller where we have the instance declaration. Yeah, so probably we'll put it up here. And I'll just say it's step 5. And then let's see what else we have to do. Use the story brain to determine which story to show when the user makes a choice. Use the story brain to provide the story title and story and choice text. And then make sure there are no more errors. So I'm not going to worry about that part because we're not going to be able to run it if we're not going to be able to run it if we don't have any errors. And so I'm going to move that over into the story brain part. And so I'll expand this. And then we can actually start working on what we have to do here. So I'm going to rely on the previous information about the story brain. And the previous information that we got in the Quizlet app, where they had a quiz brain, and look at what that looks like. So and so let's just go over and look at that. Quizlet. So in Quizlet, the quiz brain struct was all the stuff that's up to here, right? So that's the whole quiz brain. So we're going to start out and we're going to call this, we're going to basically move the information that's here into this other location, but create a struct instead. So let's go over there. Let me look at this one more time. So we let quiz just like this. So let stories looks exactly the same. So, but we need to call this story brain. So we're going to declare the main structure and have it be uppercase STORY brain, and then open brace. No, I'm sorry. It's actually a curly brace, open curly. And we'll do that. And I'm going to move this above because I like to see my instructions on top. Okay. And then I'm going to go back over to the view controller and I'm going to paste this or delete it. I'm going to control exit, control X it. And then I'm going to go over to the story brain and I'm typing in here. So I think we started that structure. The story number and stories array. So I got that. So I've created the structure. I moved the story. I haven't moved the story number over yet. So let me go get that. I'm going to go over to the view controller. The story number. Let's see. Oh, I'm in the wrong thing. Okay. Oh, let me just grab it here. So I'll go to window and then choose step 5. I don't think I already got to. Okay. Oh, I was in the right place. Okay. So I have to find the story number. I had called it story index, but you can name it story number. In fact, I guess I can I'll just name it to story number just to be consistent. So let me go through. I've had it down here too. Okay, so I'll call it story number and I'll just copy this over. I don't need these comments anymore. So move it over into story brain. So okay. Okay, so now we're in this point where you need to create a method inside the struct that's called next story, and it should take a single input called user choice, which is of type string. So the way that looks is we're making a method, which is also a function, and we're going to call it next story. And it's going to take a single input called user choice. So it's going to be user choice of type string. And then you just do the open curlies. And then, let's see. Move the story progression functionality that currently lives in the choice made IB action to the next story method. So what we need to do is to go grab that. And so all this information. So I guess I'll just cut it. And then I'm going to go over to, and I have another version that I can refer to, so if I get confused about it. So I'm going to open up the step 5. Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm just going over the story brain. Okay. So move the story progression into the next story method. So here we are, the next story method. I'm going to copy that over. But at this point, this doesn't really make sense to me because before we were using the center.tag integer value to figure out what to make things be. So remember we just inserted the story number in here based on this test. So we, right now, what we have to test on is just the string. So I'm not exactly sure. I know that if we know what the story number, we can compare strings. So the first one, if the story number was 0, we could compare this string to the existing string, but I'm not exactly sure what she's trying to get us to do here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go look at, I downloaded the final version, which you can do from the resources page. And so I'm going to go over to the final version. Oops. Okay, so this is my final version that I downloaded. And I'm going to teach you how to, I'm going to go over some debugging processes again. So if you look here, what she's got is this next story, and she's taking she's creating a constant called current story and making it be equal to story number. So right now, as soon as you turn on the program, story number is going to be 0. So, and then if you go over and look at her view controller, she's calling that function. Remember how we do that was because she created an instance of this structure called storybrain lowercase s. So now she can access that function with storybrain.nextStory, and she's passing in current title. So where is she getting that current title? I guess, oh, because of course here, current title, we can go over here to our main storyboard and look at this. Let's see, is there a title? Oh, here we go. Okay, so the buttons have titles. So she's basically accessing the title of this button as it's been defined. So if you go here, you can see she's accessing the current title. Let's see. Sender.current title. Okay, so I'm a little bit, those things don't match. And so I know we have sender.tag, so I am going to go look this up somewhere and see what, and find current title in the UI button class. So if we, let's see, how do we do that? If we go to help, we can go UI button. Okay, so it's not, we can't find any help here. But if we go to developer documentation and we look up UI button, okay, so there's something. All right, so this is the class. So you see, this is the class that's already been created. These are all kinds of classes and capabilities in the Swift library. So we can see UI button, it matches this thing. And so we can look here and go, okay, so we know that this is a declaration. When we use it, what can it do? So I think it should tell us. Ah, here we go. Okay, so let's, one of the things, oh, here we go, look. One of the things about using these, what I call fourth generation languages, is that the most important thing is that you know how to look up the functionality that they have. Because in the old programming languages, we would have to program all of these things ourselves. And now with this fourth generation programming language, they all exist. So getting to know how to find them and what they are is just great. So here we have, this is a type, an optional string type, and it's called current title. So now we know that we can grab that. In fact, we can get all kinds of stuff, the current image, the image view, we can get dimensions. And I think this is what Angela was saying when she starts programming and runs into something, she tries to understand what are the things we can do on it. So I'm pretty sure there's probably a tag in here because we were using the tag, right? Or what we, no, let's see. What were we using before? Oh, that was sender.tag, so that's a different thing. Okay, well anyway, so let's go back to her code. So she's sending in sender.currentTitle. Okay, so that is UI button. Yeah, UI button. Sender is the parameter name for the UI button. So we should be able to see a tag in that other documentation. I'm just going to do a search. Oh, okay, so UI button doesn't have a tag property, but we know that it does because we're using it. So if I wasn't trying to get through this process, I would dig into that and find out why is it that I can't find the tag. So I can do that later and report to you what I find out. Okay, so anyway, so I'm still trying to figure out what the heck she's doing in this this thing. So the questions that come to mind is, okay, so she's going through this, and when somebody clicks a button, this function is going to get called, and it's going to pass in current title. And so then what do we do with that? And so so what I'm going to do is go over to StoryBrain, and I'm going to set a breakpoint at this next story. And the way you do that is you just go over to the line that's at the same point as the place that you want to set the breakpoint. And like I'm going to set it at the beginning of this function. So when the code hits this function, it's going to stop here and give me some options, and I'll explain those when we run into it. Run into them. So here we go. I'm going to run this code. So code happily built, and this didn't get hit because I didn't press a button yet. Okay, so I'm going to choose this button, and then you can see that the code got hit. So it put us into the first line of that, that method. Okay, so now we can do all kinds of examination here. We can say, we can look at what the user choice is. So the user choice variable, and look, we can even hover over it, it looks like, and it'll tell us what it is. But we can also see it down here. And so then if we look up here, we can see all Huffin, thanks for the help, is this first one. And later she wants us to use choice one and choice two destination to figure out where to go next. So for example, choice one destination takes you to, I think it would be 0, 1, 2. So it would take us to this one. So, but let's just see what it says right here. So user choice, and then story number. That's not letting me click on it. Okay, so anyway, I can find out story number down here though. See, I can just see it right there. And then, so that's 0. And so we know that what it's telling us is that we have set story number to 0. And now what we're going to do is set the user choice to be the current story, choice 1. So then the next thing we're going to display, so if, oh no, they're testing. If user choice equals the current story, choice 1, So that's the thing we're passing in, is that choice. Then story number equals current story dot choice destination. So up here, she's using choice destination, choice one destination. Yeah, okay. So choice one destination is the value of 2. So if we want to see that process happen, what we can do is, right now we're at this line. And so if we want to keep going, then we have these options down here. If we press this one, it continues the program execution until it meets the next breakpoint or finishes. This one steps over the instruction. And in that case, we could do this because this is just a declaration. So, but when we get to the if statement, then we have the option of stepping into the, it says step into instruction. And it gives you some options to just do hotkeys for that. And this one says step out, in case you're into a long if loop, or I mean an if statement or a loop or something, then you can step out of it and go to the next statement. So at this point, I'm just going to step over and then see what happens there. So now I can see that I'll hop in, thanks for the help. And then we'll look at what current story dot choice one is. So if we go down here, it says I'll hop in, thanks for the help. So you know that that's going to be a match. And so we are going to enter, we should enter into this if statement. So then in that case, what we want to do is step into the if statement. So if we click on this, now we are at the point where they're making story number equal current story choice one destination. So if we, here it says current story choice one destination. So now we know that the choice one destination is going to change to 2. Going to change story number to equal to the integer 2. So then I'm going to step over this. And so now you can see story number is 2. And if I step into this, it can't step in because it's not going to do that thing because we already entered that if statement. So that gave me a lot of information. So what it told me is that I know that the string that's being passed in is the current title of the sender value that is the UI button that just got pressed. And so now all I have to do is get that value into this function. And then I set the current story to be that stories of the element 0 in this case, whatever element, whatever story number we're at. And if the user choice equals the current story, this value here, which is, because it's typed stories, see right here. So we made current story be the value of this array, and with the story number that's currently active. So we basically, I'm hoping you're understanding what I'm saying, but we can talk about it later. So then the if the user choice equals the choice 1, then we set the new story number value to the current story dot choice destination. And now the value of story number, this thing up here, is now equal to the new story number. So when we go through this again, so then we have to change everything. And so what happens is So we exit this. Okay, so remember we got called here from, we got called here from this view controller. And the view controller is, right after this, does an update UI. And in the update UI, it has these three functions that she probably tells us to do in section 6 that end up setting everything. So we call these different, again, it's a story brain is the instance of the structure. And then we call this function called get story title, and then we have one get choice 1, and then we have one get choice 2. And so once we complete that, then we should see that what we have is the number 2. So let me just run that one more time. So I'm going to say this and then I'm just going to continue. And so then if you look up here and you look at choice 2, you can see that the title, the choice, and the choice 1 and choice 2 all match. So that's what she's doing, and that's an introduction to some debugging. Okay, so let's keep going on this. Let's see where we are. I took a break, so I'm not exactly sure what I told you last, but we created the method and walked through all that code. And so now I think we know how to do it. Move the story progression functionality that currently lives in the choice made ID action to the next story method. So I think what they're actually talking about is the progression of the story number, because that's what we saw when we were looking at the final version. But let's see if we can remember how to, once we learned how to do that, let's set that up. So, so I think what she used was, so again, what we're going to do is we're going to take this string that we got from the controller, and we're going to set it to be what the current value is, the current story. So story number. So we're going to go current, let current story equal to stories, and we're going to use the story number. And then we're going to say if the user choice is equal to, or equal to the current story, that's dot choice 1, then we're going to change the value of the story number. So then story number equals 1 in this case, because remember we only have 2 choices. Oh yeah. Oh, so now they're telling us it's immutable, so we can make it be mutable, so it made it be a mutating function. And so then else if user choice is equal to current story dot choice 2, then we set the story number equal to 2. So all this stuff we can replace, I think, just by using the update UI and make that. So I'm just going to delete all this. Let's see if it looks good. So it looks like the code needs to be tidied up. So I'll go up to the editor, use structure, reindent. No, it didn't change it at all. Okay, so let me see. Did I think we're missing a story number is not here. Oh, story number is here. Okay, I'm going to move it over here. Okay. All right, so I think we've got that done, but we'll see when we try and run the code. Always a puzzle. Okay, so let's see. All right, so we know that we're, oh, now we have to call this function. That's right. So we have to call the function. Oh, create an instance of the story brain. So we need to create an instance. So we'll make it be a variable because we know we have to change it. And then we'll call it lowercase story brain equal to story brain. And we have to put the parentheses around it. And so we did that. And then when we go into the choice made, we need to do this call to that function. So if we call the function, we have to do story brain dot next story. And so now in this part of the code, we need to tell it this value. User choice. Oh no, we already had user choice. And sender dot, what was that? Current. Current title, there we go. And, oh, but it doesn't, okay, so it's optional type. So we need to force unwrap. So we'll do that. And then we need to call update UI. Oh, and there was something we should have left in here. What was it? Oh, the restart button. Where is that definition? Here it is, restart button. So we have to set restart button dot. Oh, it's down here. I think. Is hidden. Hidden. Equals false. Actually, let me see. Do you update UI here? Oh, we don't want to set it true unless, oh, we want to leave it hidden. Yeah, okay. So because this is such a, we only have one option or the other, we'll reset the restart button once we update the UI. So when we update the UI, all this code is not working. So story label.text, that's correct. But the stories, I'm surprised it's didn't say that. So I'm going to rewrite this. So story label dot text equals story brain dot stories. Oh, this is interesting. It doesn't recognize it. Okay, there we go. I did a command B to get it to recognize, build the code. Okay, so that's going to be story brain dot, oh, story brain. Oh, oh, I'm using uppercases. Right, that's wrong. Okay, so story brain dot, and we're going to be stories, And then we have to figure out which story we're talking about. And so if we put in here story number, it doesn't recognize it. And that's because it now lives in this other location. So we have to access it through the story brain dot, and then you'll see it shows up here as story number. And then we get to go dot stories, story number dot, and then we'll change this to be title. And then so we can eliminate this line. And then this is going to be the same thing, choice one button. Okay, so this is story brain, stories, story number. And something here. Okay, so this should work. Got rid of the errors. All right, let's see. I'll check it out here. So, that works. Restart. Oh, it didn't. Let's see. Restart, I think, needs to set that number to 0. So, because right now we're just in the same location. So, the set restart button is hidden to be equal to true. Let me see. What's the right way to do it? I think I shouldn't be saying this here. But where do I set it then? If I don't set it there. Okay, so let's see what happens if I just run it like this. See, so it's showing that. So we have to set it someplace. I almost would put it in the muted load. I'm gonna set it there. So I'll do restart button dot is hidden equals true. Let's try that. All right, so it's hidden now, so take it off. Restart it. Oh, it's still not working. Okay, so if I restart again, then, oh yeah, I should probably, I have to reset everything to be that 0th element. But if I know that the, so where is it set to 0? Where do I set that value to 0? I don't know what's the story. I can actually run that code again, set a breakpoint and see what's going on. Okay, so somehow the value isn't being set over here. Maybe that's my problem. Oh yeah, I should probably. Oh. Well, let's think this through for a second. We know we want to set this to be 0 at some point. So On the viewed load, we hide it. When we hit choose the choice made, we restart it. We set that, and that's all working. But we're not getting the value of the story number to change to 0. So that needs to happen somewhere, and I would assume that it would happen over in this other location. But she didn't add this, so I guess I can just change it then. Okay. So we updated, we did the choice made, update UI, and then they're going to come back to this location. And when they press restart game, that's probably when I should change it. So I'm going to make story brain, it would be story brain dot story number equal to 0. Let's try that. Okay, there we go. Okay. So then if I choose take it right, then restart. Okay, so that works. So I think, did we do everything? Let's look over here. Which story to show? Provide the story title and choice text. Use the story brain to provide the story title and choice text. Okay, so that must be where we have to actually call the function, because right now we're updating it over here. Let's see what she has in the final version, what she has in her update UI. Yeah, so she's calling that other function called get story title. I wonder, let me just look at number 6 and see. Oh yeah, so this must be it. Okay, so she wants us to set this up over there. So that's because she's given us this information. It's very tempting to just copy it over. So what we have here is a function get story title, return story numbers. So remember with these functions where there's a return value, over in the view controller, we just have to set the value to the call to the function. So see, this is just the call to the function, and that is enough to set this value. So, and if we do that, then in ours, with my restart game, I won't have to have this code be in 2 places. This is pretty tricky to have code like this in 2 places, because then if you make changes in one, you have to make them in another. And if somehow these get separated and you can't see they look alike, then it becomes a problem. So it's much better to break this up into oh, you know what? I don't even think I have to use this code now. Let me try this. I'm going to stop this. And then I'm going to remove this code because I don't think I need it now, since I changed the storybrain.story number to be 0. And then I called update UI. So let's try it and see if that works. Okay, so if I take a left, and then I restart. See, I don't have to worry about it now because I already called the, okay, so I only have the code really in one place. All right, so now we need to create some functions here that are, so how do we do this? We do a function, and she's got some names like, let's just copy her code over as it's like kind of pseudocode note. So she's got a function called getStoryTitle. And it returns a string. And, oh, except we need these in the other location. And so that's going to be, the story title will be, oh, let's move this over. Function getStoryTitle is a string, and what we're going to do is return the current story, no, not current story, the stories that, the stories of current minutes, story number dot title. I think that'll work. Let's see if that's what she wrote. Stories of story number dot title. Okay. And then in the same token, we'll do a, oh, she had a function. Oops, I'm going outside this. Okay, so this, I lose my closed curly. Oh, it looks like I lost my closed curly. Let's see. So the way you tell is you look here and then see if it highlights up here. So I'm going to do that again. You can see how that works. Okay, so then next thing is going to be function get, oh, I did copy it. Okay, let me see. Get choice 1 and get choice 2. So get choice 1, and that's going to be a string. And we're going to return stories, story number dot choice 1, and then we'll just copy that code. And it's going to get choice 2, and that's going to be return stories choice 2. So now we have those functions. Let's see. Oops. Right, I have it. Oh, I deleted, sorry. Okay. Get choice 2, and this is choice 2. Okay, so then I'm going to, we don't need this. Okay, so let's go over to the view controller. And now in the update UI, we're going to do, I guess I don't need to do that because I have the note right below. So now I'm going to just do a call to oh. Oh yeah, so I have to do story brain dot stories dot. Oh yeah. Okay, so stories, and I'm gonna do story brain dot stories. Story number dot. Oh, oh, isn't that seeing the thing I just built? Okay. Oh, build fair. That's story brain dot story number dot. Oh yeah, that's not what I'm gonna do. So stories dot. Ah. This is story brain. Oh, it's just story brain. That's story brain dot, and then get story title. Oh, we have to make it equal to, so story label dot text is equal to story brain get story title, and then this thing. This is going to be I think it's going to be just get story story brain dot get choice one. Does that work? Oh, okay. And then this should be the same thing, only for choice, get choice two, choice two button, choice two. Okay. So let's try it. Oh, that looks good. Looks good. Okay. So did this part then. All right. So I'll end the recording and go on to the next step.